Does this end the playoff hopes for the Dallas Cowboys?
It does. It really does. Mathematically, no. But I viewed this game. I think we all kind of viewed this game as a playoff elimination game for both of these teams. You know, you win and you are still in contention. It's not a lock. The Lions still have an uphill battle. They still have the Rams next week. They are no by no means mathematically a lock to make the playoffs. But win and you are still in contention. Lose, and as we're seeing with the Dallas Cowboys, you know, depending on whatever playoff simulator you want to use out there, the Cowboys' chances of making the playoffs are still less than 10%. And I've seen, even if the Cowboys win out, there's still about a 40-50% chance of making the playoffs. And that's taking care of all of their business. So the Cowboys do not control their own fate. The Cowboys are going to have to prey on an Eagles downfall. I'm sure that's nothing new for Cowboys fans to prey on the downfall of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's I think that's a possibility. I think that's very much so in play. We just saw the Eagles blow a 21-0 lead to the Cowboys. We just saw the Eagles get absolutely thumped by the Bears. So maybe that does happen, but I'm not going to put my money on the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles to just go on an absolute epic landslide to end the season. So yes, this is the Dallas Cowboys season. They will not be in the postseason, which is frankly, Fitz, such a shame based on the way that Dak Prescott has been playing this season. We were talking so much early in the season, early into the mid part of the season, about Dak Prescott and his MVP campaign, because Prescott has been playing MVP caliber football, and it's gone wasted on this defense. And look, I was wondering, okay, did this defense figure some things out with the addition of Quinn and Williams? Obviously, we saw them go back to back, beating the Eagles and the Chiefs. Think, okay, like, did they maybe figure some things out? And I think last night showed that maybe the wins over the Eagles and the Chiefs said more about the Eagles and the Chiefs than it did about than this defense actually getting upgraded. We saw it with what the Lions were able to do on the ground. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, what Jared Goff was able to do through the air. Maybe it's not the sexiest, gaudiest numbers that don't pop off the box score, but my goodness, was Jared Goff good. My goodness, did Jared Goff not just do everything that he needed to do in addition to this ground game and this nasty physical defense that was getting after the Cowboys all night long?
So I think there's one big thing that I missed coming into this game, and it hit me last night watching it. This was the fourth game for the Dallas Cowboys in the last 18 days. Think about that.
Oof.
4 football games in 18 days. So I hear you, and I think you're right that what we saw last night was a Dallas Cowboys defense that wasn't nearly what we thought they were going to be or what they needed to be in this situation. And unfortunately, Dallas played themselves into this situation. Let's not get it twisted. They are where they are with their backs against the wall because they lost a lot of football games that they just shouldn't have lost earlier in the year. They just couldn't get it together defensively. We all know that. But now, with their back against the wall, fourth game in 18 days, I think what we saw was an exhausted team because physicality just wasn't there on either side of the ball, right? Like, Cowboys didn't run the ball. They couldn't stop the run. Jahmyr Gibbs last night tied Barry Sanders for the most touchdowns in the first 3 seasons as a Detroit Lion. Think about that. Jahmyr Gibbs in the same sentence as Barry Sanders. Like, that is absolutely incredible. Most touchdowns by the age of 24 ever. Like, that is just an incredible stat line to think about for Jahmyr Gibbs, and it looked easy. The explosiveness of Gibbs is something I think we've talked about on the show almost every day this week, right? But it really showed up last night, and it also just showed up because there wasn't any gas left in the tank for the Cowboys. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to look at why they seemed flatter as a team last night. Part of that is Detroit. Part of that is, I think, just the strain of 4 games in 18 days. And that's why, look, they get now the mini bye. They're going to get ready for it. I think the Cowboys are going to win out. The problem is 10-6-1, amazingly, which would be their final record if they were to win every game left on the schedule, might not get them into the playoffs. To your point, I don't think an implosion of the Eagles is coming. And then you start looking at the wild card picture. They're going to need Green Bay. They're going to need the 49ers. They're going to need teams like that to lose multiple games down the stretch. So the most important part of this is the Cowboys have to take care of their own business. Now, 3 of the 4 teams that they play remaining have absolutely nothing left to play for. The Chargers are the one outlier on that, but that game is in Dallas. I like Dallas for their 4 remaining games, and I like this Dallas team overall. I just wonder if they push themselves too far back against the wall. I still think the playoffs could be there, but now instead of just Dallas controlling any portion of that, they're praying for an implosion.
It could be there, but they just have to make sure that while they take care of their business, Philadelphia doesn't. Because I think the Cowboys' clearest path to making the playoffs is winning the division. And that's not that far off. That's not that crazy to think about. But it just feels a little bit too far fetched from where we are. Like, I don't think that the Eagles are who they were the last 2 weeks. I don't think the Eagles, who have looked at times like the best, deepest, most competitive team in the NFL, are going to all of a sudden just lose out, which is really kind of what the Cowboys are going to need the Eagles to do in order to secure that division. But I think we need to give credit to the Lions here. Because going into this game, I said I trusted Dan Campbell more, and I picked the Lions to win. I'm just going to go on my victory lap a little bit here. And I said I
You should.
trusted Dan Campbell more because, thank you very much, thank you. Because I trust Dan Campbell with his back against the wall. And that came to fruition last night. That is this not the identity of this Lions team? Gotta have it, must win game, ground and pound, be the more physical team. Like, that is Dan Campbell. This team has taken on the persona of Dan Campbell. And when you say, hey, Lions, you have to have it, your backs are absolutely up against a wall, and you have to win a game, that's when I feel like the Lions play their best style and best brand of football. Now, this season, they've been incredibly Jekyll and Hyde. They've been hot and cold. They've been up and down. I would anticipate to see that throughout the rest of the season kind of come to fruition. Like, I don't expect the Lions to beat the Rams next week. We'll discuss next week, but I don't expect them to win that game because I just don't think they're better than the Rams. And that's been the Lions all season long. They're hot and cold. They're up, they're down. But this just felt like such a Dan Campbell kind of game. You know, you're at home. Jared Goff plays his best football when he's in the cozy confines of a dome. And against a run defense in the Dallas Cowboys that has struggled, I think is fair to say. It's nice to say, nicely put. And you have the best running back duo in the NFL. Like, this just played so well into the hands and the identity of this Lions team.
Yeah, you're 1,000% right. By the way, the Lions, you mentioned that Rams game. Let's not sleep on week 18 when they have to go to Chicago, a team that people seem to still not be believing in. But, man, Jared Goff at Soldier Field, possibly with the division on the line. Let's see how he handles the cold there. One significant note from this game, want to make sure we get everybody caught up on. CeeDee Lamb left this game and is in concussion protocol. Took an absolutely nasty hit in the course of this game. Was out of the game. Now, obviously, for the Cowboys, they have George Pickens. They have somebody that they believe can step up and be a one for them over the course of the rest of the season. It's not like he hasn't had to do that already. But certainly when you think about what they need to get offensively, having anything less than the best of your weapons is a less than ideal situation as we come down the home stretch. Number one, most important, is that CeeDee be healthy. But this is certainly a blow for the Cowboys.
It was really scary. It was a really scary scene. It felt very reminiscent of Tua. That's the most important thing. You take care of yourself, especially with head injuries and concussions. The NFL approaches that with a ton of sensitivity, as they should. So, to your point, first and foremost, I'm hoping for the best for CeeDee Lamb. I'm hoping he can get out there as soon as possible. You know, Kaylee Hartung was saying on the broadcast last night that he was telling the medical team, like, hey, look, I want to go back out there. I'm good. I don't need help. And I do understand that feeling from CeeDee Lamb, who's such a huge part of this team. And, you know, he's a competitor. He wants to go out there and win a game that he knew it was kind of win or go home. I do understand that. But I hate to see that for CeeDee Lamb as a person and as a player. And then there's another side of that, and that's the football side. The Cowboys, as much as we want to write them off and as much as I kind of already mentally have, they still are statistically alive. But that is going to be an uphill climb without CeeDee Lamb. Like you said, George Pickens can carry a big part of that load at times. And in games this season, George Pickens has been the Cowboys one. But that's what I think is so special about this Cowboys offense is on any given night, CeeDee can be a one. George Pickens can be a one. So yes, you have George Pickens that can carry that load, but when you don't have a CeeDee Lamb out there to take attention away from the defense, that just makes life so much more difficult for George Pickens and for Dak Prescott.